Boom, we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sales Tax Bootcamp for Amazon FBA sellers. Before we get started here, making the introductions and getting into the nitty-gritty content and getting our hands dirty, it'd be nice if one or two of you could just post a comment in here to make sure that we don't have any technical difficulties and we don't blast off on this presentation and find out halfway in that we don't have any audio. So can someone just make a post in here to make sure we're coming through clearly and that we're clear to go? That would be great. In the meantime, I do see that our video is coming through, so that's helpful. Oh, we got no one yet.
Oh, come on, guys. Surely.
Oh, gee, they're either not hearing us or they don't like us, Jen. I don't know which one it is.
Wait, you don't like sales talks? It's weird. Very weird.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not even going to make the joke about this being a boring subject that nobody wants to talk about, because I feel like that's probably been beaten. That dead horse has been beaten over and over again, and you're probably sick of that one.
We make it ourselves, so other people can't make it for us. It's kind of.
Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. Solid. Well, we still haven't got any comments. I'm going to test the sound myself, since you guys are super lazy and don't want to leave comments. It seems like it's coming through. I just did a little test. So looks like we're coming through loud and clear. Why don't we get started then and jump right in with some intros. Jen, would you like to introduce yourself so I don't butcher your introduction, and then I can do the same?
Sure. So I'm Jennifer Dunn. I'm the Chief of Content at TaxJar. So what that basically means is that I write everything that you see coming out of TaxJar: blog posts, white papers, emails, anything you get from TaxJar, I will probably be the one writing it, which means I have to be a sales tax expert. Something that doesn't sound that exciting, but actually is kind of more interesting. Sort of like anything's more interesting once you get to know a little more about it. So yeah, sales tax expert right here.
Kicking. And yeah, I mean, you don't look like a boring tax gal, you know? You look like a DJ. So you look super cool. You make tax accounting look cool. I'll just say that. And I am Chris Rawlings. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Judolaunch, and we help Amazon sellers boost their sales. So I'd say we're the front end, and Jen and TaxJar are the back end. Once you're getting tons of sales, how do you get compliant? And we're jumping into that right now at a very timely time, because of a very relevant court case that Jen is going to tell us about that may affect all of us as FBA sellers, and which states in the US we need to pay taxes in. And despite what you may think, Jen is actually on our side when it comes to this case, versus what you would think. So yeah, she's going to dig in from our perspective and kind of tell us what we need to know as sellers, not scold us on what we're doing wrong. So why don't we jump right in, Jen? Do you want to start the screen share and we could get the basics over with first? I'll interrupt you anytime that I, as a seller, feel that I need to voice the opinion of a seller and ask you a question or make a clarification. And then we can go into a Q&A and talk about that timely court case. And I think that's probably going to be all the time we have.
That sounds like a plan. All right. I think my screen is showing up pretty well. Can you still hear me?
Yep, hearing you and seeing the screen as well. I'm going to play cameraman here and lock the screen on your screen so that everybody sees your screen and not me.
Perfection. All right, so I call this my sales tax boot camp for online sellers or Amazon sellers, because really it is a boot camp. It's a quick and dirty guide to sales tax, but also it's the easiest boot camp that you will ever go to. All you have to do is sit back and listen. And of course, think of any questions that you might have, something you want me to cover further. We're going to talk about just the basics. I am going to talk about sales tax specifically for online sellers, because some folks, they come from the retail brick and mortar world. Sales tax for online sellers is quite different. And also I'll share some next steps and resources, and I'm always open to answering your questions either now, or if you wake up in the middle of the night with a question, you can always email me. So I already kind of told you guys who I am, but I write the TaxStar blog. I have, 10 years experience now in e-commerce tax. I need to update that. And also my job is to talk to online sellers, sales tax pros, auditors, states. So I kind of talk to the gamut, the people who are paying sales tax and the people who want more sales tax. But my job is to be an advocate for you, to help you make informed decisions. The thing about TaxStar is we were started by business owners, not all of us anymore, but for a long time, at least 80% of people in TaxStar had owned a business before. So we really come at it from the point of view of a business owner. And I think that's one thing that's helped make us successful, is we're not looking at it from, the point of view of a state trying to get more money out of you. Now,
yeah, that's what I love about you guys. I really get the feeling when I talk to you guys that you're on our side. In that last conversation we had a couple of days ago, I was like, man, yeah, these guys, they're not what you would think.
When
it comes to tax.
Yeah, we're a technology company that learned about taxes. We're not a tax company who tried to learn about technology, and that is a huge difference for sure.
Oh, it's way better.
We agree. So the people I talk with every day are mostly, they're going to be multi-channel sellers. Now, a lot of those people are Amazon sellers, just because Amazon, as we'll see, has sort of a complicated relationship with sales tax. But a lot of sellers are multi-channel. You want to be educated. You're trying to determine where you have NEXUS, which is just an obligation to collect sales tax. And you're probably collecting sales tax in different. You might have it coming through your Amazon, through your bank account, through PayPal. And you're probably also, once you get a little bit bigger, finding that filing sales tax is a frustrating waste of time. You should not ever be making money on sales tax. If you're making money on sales tax, you're probably going to jail. That's the one thing you don't want to do, is be making money. So yeah, it's just most folks, this is what they just tell me. They're like, I don't want to learn about sales tax. I don't want your boot camp. I just want it to go away, which I totally understand. But we can make sales tax mostly go away, but there are a few things that you're going to need to know as an online seller. It's just like everything else. It seems really daunting when you start, but later it'll become just another, to-do on your checklist that you can easily check off. So first of all, let's just go over the basics. Now, these may sound basic to some folks, but some people, they're not very clear on these yet. So I like to go over them. So, I hope your eyes don't glaze over on these basics. First of all, in the United States, sales tax is it's chaos. And the reason for that is because there's no federal sales tax. The IRS has nothing to do with sales tax. There's not one phone number you can call and get your sales tax question answered. 45 states and DC all have sales tax. And so that means each state gets to make their own laws. Now, while some stuff is similar or common between the states, all this stuff can vary. NEXUS, once again, that's just like when you have to collect sales tax. What's taxable? So some states clothing is taxable, and some states it's not, for example. The sales tax rates. You may notice you travel to a new state and all of a sudden you're paying a really high sales tax rate, or you're paying a really nice low rate.
Wait, so Jen, are you telling me that if I have my company incorporated in Oregon and I keep all my inventory in Oregon, that I don't have to pay any sales tax because that's the only place I have NEXUS?
Well, yeah.
Hey, did I just catch you?
Yeah, you're all set. Yeah, good
all
approach.
Right.
And it's just kind of hard for people to do sometimes, but yeah, sometimes we'll have people call us from Oregon and be like, well, I don't understand. I don't even pay sales tax. Like, well, stop, calm down. You don't have to do anything with it. You're good.
Yeah. Lucky you.
We try to help people as much as they can. Now, Oregon has high other taxes. That's kind of how they make up for not having sales tax, but that's neither here nor there. And then sales tax due dates can also change from state to state. So you may be like, oh, I know all about collecting sales tax. I pay every month on the 20th. Then you move into another state and all of a sudden it's due on the 15th every month. So just all this stuff can vary from state to state. It can be confusing and pretty complicated. Now, so what is taxable? In most cases, if you're an e-commerce seller, most of the time you are selling a tangible item, a book, a lamp, a toothbrush. So and most tangible items are taxable, and I'll go over some examples where they're not, but most of the time they are. And services are mostly not taxable, but that is kind of changing. You'll see one common theme here, and we'll talk about this with the Supreme Court case as well, is that states, they think they're not getting enough sales tax money and they want more. So they're doing things like making services taxable. Like I said, most online sellers do not sell a service, but maybe you design t-shirts and you do some custom t-shirts or something like that. Then you will have to look into service taxability. But mostly that's not taxable. So in most of the time, the rule of thumb is if you sell a piano, charge sales tax. If you give piano lessons, then you don't have to charge sales tax. So just kind of keep that in mind, but always check with your individual state. Same goes for shipping. Now you're an online seller. Maybe you offer free shipping as much as you can. You know, everybody loves that Amazon Prime. But, you know, somebody might have a rush order. You charge them, you know, $50 in shipping to get it there tomorrow. Well, about half the states say that that shipping charge is taxable. And about half the other states say shipping is not taxable. That really just depends on the state. So something else you sort of have to keep in the back of your mind. Now let's talk really quickly about what is taxable. This lamp is just a tangible item. Most of the time, those things are totally taxable. And taxable just means you're required to charge sales tax to your buyers on the item. Clothing, it's got an X and a check mark here because sometimes it's taxable, sometimes it's not in some states. Same with groceries. In most states, groceries are not taxable or they're taxed at a low rate. And that's just because they're considered a necessity. I mean, it's kind of a, you know, if a family's already maybe in poverty, it's kind of mean to charge them tax on the food that they need to survive kind of thing. That's the thinking of the states. But in some states, it is taxable. Shipping, again, sometimes taxable, sometimes not. Okay, this is a weird one. So say we're in New York and you go to the store and you buy a bag of these bagels that are not cut in half. Well, those are not taxable in New York. However, as soon as you go to a store and buy this bagel, that's taxable. That's because at first it was a grocery item. Yeah, right? And now it's a prepared food. If you cut that bagel in half, it becomes restaurant food and it becomes taxable. And restaurant food is taxable in every state, but grocery is not taxable in some states. And once again, just a lot of little gotchas and confusions.
Dang, you cut the bagel in half and suddenly you have to pay taxes on it?
Exactly.
Come on, Uncle Sam. This is getting crazy.
Well, sometimes
Jesus.
A box of donuts would not be taxable because it's like, well, you're not going to eat that box of donuts all in one meal. But
let me guess. But if you cut that box of donuts in half, you have to pay taxes on it?
Pretty much. Or if you just buy a single donut. I know.
And you cut it in half? Or you don't cut it in half?
Cut it in half.
I'm stuck on this cutting in half thing.
No, you are. But no, yeah, a single donut taxable, a box of donuts,
okay.
Not. I know.
Okay, I'm getting it.
Now, also, sales tax is a pass-through tax. Remember what I said about you shouldn't be making money on sales tax? This is, you collect sales tax from your buyer and you give it straight back to the state. You would never pay it out of pocket, so you don't want to. Some people will say, oh, I don't want to collect sales tax. I want a competitive advantage against my competitors. And like every once in a while, that's a good idea. But for the most part, then you're just ending up paying sales tax out of pocket. And your buyers are generally accustomed to paying sales tax, especially if they go out to the store. So you really don't want to ever pay sales tax out of pocket.
Okay, here's where I got a question already. So I feel as, you know, talking to my CPA on where I need to pay sales tax, where I don't. And I honestly, to be honest with you, I'm really not an expert on this shit. This is why I'm learning from you right now, personally. But I feel that I am paying out of pocket because I'm not doing an extra charge to certain people through Amazon, unless you're able to do that, but I just haven't implemented that yet. What we've been doing is going through all of our orders and filtering them by state for the whole year, and then taking the ones that are in states that we have NEXUS and just paying a percentage of that. So it does feel out of pocket because the consumer didn't really pay anything else because I didn't add anything on Amazon to their specific order. I'm just paying it at the end. Am I doing this wrong? Is there a way to add that on in Amazon and choose who has to pay?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, it does sound like you could probably save a little money out of pocket. Amazon has a tax collection service, and actually I'll get to that in just a minute. But
okay, I'm jumping ahead of you here. My bad.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. We'll get right to it. Basically, long story short, starting is the hardest part. This boot camp is the hardest part. Once you get this, your kind of mind wrapped around it, you're going to feel a lot better. All right, so I've said this word NEXUS a whole bunch of times. I kind of told you it's obligation to collect sales tax, but let's talk about it just a little more. It just means a significant presence in a state. And so that could be just actually your body in the state. You have NEXUS because you live there. But it could also be an employee or inventory in a warehouse, which is where a lot of Amazon sellers really get stuck. So let's go through a few examples. Office in a state creates NEXUS. A retail store, definitely, or other location, even like your own warehouse, your own food truck, creates NEXUS. An employee creates NEXUS. A salesperson creates NEXUS. So this is like bigger companies that have traveling salespeople going all through the country. Well, those guys create NEXUS. Displaying at a trade show. Now, it's selling at a trade show, not just displaying. So if you go to a trade show and you're selling, you know, your teddy bears or your books or your widgets, that creates NEXUS in many states. And inventory in a warehouse. So this is where Amazon sellers, like I said, get tripped up. If your inventory is for sale in a warehouse in a state, then those states consider you to have sales tax NEXUS. Okay, so here are the Amazon warehouse states right now. A couple more are opening soon. Let me look over here. Utah is opening soon. I believe Missouri is opening soon. So when I started with TaxJar, there were 15 or 16 states with Amazon fulfillment centers. Now there are nearly 25, nearly half the states. So these are states that you are going to want to look at. But don't worry, like don't look at this and freak out. I'm going to give you some strategies for figuring out where do I really need to collect sales tax, not just let me go right now and collect sales tax in all these states. Like I wouldn't freak out and do that. So here's a little more on that inventory creating NEXUS. You can search what creates sales tax NEXUS in every state, so you can read that state's sales tax laws. Some states really hide their laws; they just have them in a in a database somewhere. So we've compiled all the laws, and also court cases mean that sales tax is time, and that's what I'm going to talk about. That Supreme Court case. You can go to that link in orange there at the bottom and just see, all this different Amazon news. Like maybe you got a letter from Massachusetts or a letter from Rhode Island, or I'm sorry, a letter from Amazon about Massachusetts or Rhode Island. Well, that link down there, that'll let you go and see like, hey, what was this letter actually about? What law did it apply to, etc. But the Supreme Court case that's about to happen, basically that what I just told you about having a salesperson or inventory in a state creates NEXUS. Well, if that Supreme Court case goes the wrong way, the way we don't want it to go as online sellers, then that NEXUS would go away. But what that means is that instead of just having NEXUS in states where you have some kind of inventory or employee or whatever, you would have NEXUS in every US state. So every US state could require the Amazon sellers or other online sellers collect sales tax from buyers in that state. Instead of having NEXUS in 10 states, you would have NEXUS in 45 states. Now, before you freak out again, I always try not to be the bearer of bad news. Many of those states have some kind of threshold. Like, for example, South Dakota, it's kind of the state that started all the issues. Their threshold is $100,000 in sales in the state. It's not too bad, right? Like a lot of people don't have $100,000 in sales in South Dakota, but are 200 transactions. Now that's a little easier to do, 200 transactions. But other states' thresholds are smaller. Washington, Pennsylvania, and I believe Rhode Island are all $10,000. So if you have more than $10,000 in sales in that state. So yeah, it can be a little crazy. So that's what we're looking at with the Supreme Court case. We won't know until the end of June what's going to happen. So right now, there's nothing you can do. You can't influence the justices. It's not like calling your Congress people. So I would just wait and just sort of, wait and see what happens. But for now, this is the law.
I'm going to the White House. I'm going to the White House lawn. I'm picketing. I'm going to protest. And I'm going to change the law. I'm going to change that case.
There you go. I wish you would. I wish somebody could. But I feel pretty confident that the states, in this case, the states are like the bad guys to online sellers. I feel like the states did not make their case. So I think we're going to be okay, but we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, so right now we're operating on the assumption that NEXUS is going to stay the same as it always did. So when should you collect sales tax then? Here's the golden rule of sales tax collection. You should collect sales tax where the item sold is shipped to a state where you have NEXUS. And that's let's parse that out a little bit. So, all right, we got this guy. We have Joe. He is just a regular Joe. He's based in Akron, Ohio. Right now, he only works from his home office. He only sells stuff out of his garage. So he only has sales tax NEXUS in the state of Ohio. He's complying in Ohio. Complying just means he has a sales tax license and he's collecting sales tax from his Ohio buyers. So he makes a sale to someone.
Dang handsome at that.
Handsome? I know. I don't know where they found the stock photo model, but he's very good looking. Anyway, I have to give this presentation a lot, Chris. Might as well have a handsome guy. But to someone in Lakewood, Ohio. Well, he has Nexus in Ohio, so he needs to collect sales tax from that buyer. On the other hand, he makes a sale to someone in Waltham, Massachusetts. Well, Joe doesn't have sales tax nexus in Massachusetts, so he does not have to collect sales tax. Joe has no obligation to do that. So easy enough, right? All right, so Joe's business grows. He contracts with a fulfillment service, and they start storing his inventory for sale out in Nevada. This is probably so he can get stuff out to West Coast shoppers faster. Now he has Nexus in Ohio and Nevada. He's complying in both of those states. So if he makes a sale either from Ohio or Nevada to a buyer in Ohio or Nevada, he collects sales tax. But if he makes a sale to Iowa, he's got no Nexus there, so he doesn't need to collect sales tax. All right, so Joe starts using FBA. Maybe he sells kayaks or something big where he's only in about 5 Amazon states. Now he has Nexus in 6 states. He's complying, and once again, collecting sales tax in all these states. If he makes a sale from one of his Nexus states to one of his Nexus states, he collects sales tax. But if he makes a sale to any state where he doesn't have Nexus, he does not have to collect. So yeah, I really hope that sort of explains when to collect sales tax. We have, and if that was elementary for you, I understand, but we do have a lot of new people who just really have a hard time wrapping their mind around that. And states do not make it intuitive. They really don't. So now here's the next thing.
No, it's a mess, just like you said. It's crazy. It's like 50 countries. It's like dealing with 50 countries, like tax laws, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Or 45.
That's federalism. That's part of what makes the United States great, but some of it is also really complicated and confusing. So, all right. So how much sales tax should you collect anyway? Well, first of all, just before you get too far into this, this is going to be some of the most complicated stuff that I share. And in most cases, if you sell on a major shopping cart like Amazon or Shopify or those guys, Walmart, then you're not going to have to deal with this too much. They have a robust sales tax collection engine that will deal with this stuff for you. However, it's always good to have this knowledge in the back of your mind and know kind of, hey, this is why Amazon is doing this on my behalf. The sales tax rate is usually the sum of applicable rates. So the state rate, the local rate, and another rate. And let's see, and also the state where the item is shipped determines the tax rate. So if you ship an item to a customer in Florida, then you would always charge that customer Florida sales tax. You would never charge them a sales tax rate from another state. Sort of think about it as if the customer is going to their corner store and buying something. They would pay the same sales tax rate as if they bought something from a brick and mortar store, around the way. Now, this once again is a little bit complicated. There are 2 types of sales tax collection states. There's origin-based, nice and easy for online sellers. If anybody out there is in Texas, you probably know all about this. You are only required to collect sales tax at the rate of your home or office or store, wherever you're selling from. So your job is really easy. No matter where you make a sale to in Texas, you would charge your home sales tax rate, nice and easy. But most states are destination-based, and this is crazy. This means if you make a sale to someone where you have Nexus, you're required to collect their sales tax rate. So you need to know where your customer lives, or if they live in the city limits, outside the city limits, if they live inside the school district, if they live inside the transportation district.
Dude, hold up. Can I just do a reality check here? Is it even possible for them to enforce that? How would they even... I can't even imagine the audit process if they were like, we want to make sure that when you sold to Lucy in 2013, that she lived in Staten Island, not Brooklyn. I'd be like, come on now. There's no way.
I hate talking about sales tax audits because they suck really bad. But that's actually the reason sales tax audits suck so bad is because they ask for your point of sale software, or like in Amazon, they would ask for your Amazon records, and that's how they would do that. So yeah, they would ask you to look at each transaction. Sales tax audits.
How common is that? How common is it to actually get it audited for Amazon sellers specifically?
Okay, this is a great question. For like a small mom and pop kind of Amazon seller, I'd say doing less than 100,000 a year. I don't think it would be that common. Now it's getting more common. And there are reasons for that because Amazon is sharing information with states. So if you have Nexus in Massachusetts or Rhode Island, you might want to, be a little extra cautious here. Or if you use a resale certificate, but mostly if you sell wholesale to other sellers, that can get you an audit red flag. So Yeah, most of the time though, if you're a small volume seller, you're not going to get a sales tax audit. Now, nobody quote me on that. Nobody say, oh,
yeah, but our audience though, Jen, I have to tell you, they're all ballers.
oh,
Okay. So everyone watching this is likely doing 100,000 a month, not a year.
Okay.
So what about those people? Are they going to get audited?
Well, here's the thing. So what'll happen, especially this wholesale thing, one easy way to get audited is if you are in the books of a wholesaler. So if you're buying something from a wholesaler or if you're selling things to somebody who's going to resell it, that's very easy to get audited because those guys are bigger. They'll get audited, and then what they'll do is they'll make a hit list of everybody else that is in their transactions. Like I said, they look at every transaction, every vendor they do business with. So that's a huge one. Another way is having Amazon share information. New York is the latest one. They're sharing some kind of, or Amazon is sharing some kind of information with New York, but it's only for the year 2014, which is really bizarre. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, they just shared information. South Carolina, on the other hand, they're suing Amazon. So anyway, there's just a lot. That's why I go to that taxjar.com/Amazon-news. I know it's kind of a long link URL, but that'll kind of show you what's going on. So yeah,
what's the Massachusetts Rhode Island thing again that you mentioned a couple times? I don't fully understand that. They're cracking down.
Yeah, they've asked Amazon for information about Amazon third-party sellers. They say, give us their names, give us their tax ID, give us how much they sold to buyers in our states. We want to know what's going on. So Massachusetts, that happened way back in January, and we're expecting sellers to start hearing from Massachusetts any day now because it's already May. So either the state is very slow, which could be the case. States are not very technologically savvy a lot of times. Or on a brighter note, maybe the state is just looking at very, 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 very high volume sellers. Now we have a lot of high volume sellers though at TaxStar. We have over 12,000 customers at this point. So we haven't heard anybody getting some kind of letter. So we know, here's where we're at. Amazon has shared all this information. Oh, 12,000.
12,000. Oh, okay. Right on.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and many of those are Amazon sellers. We work with all kinds of sellers. So, yeah, but we haven't heard anything. So that's what's happening with Massachusetts. Rhode Island is something similar. And I'm trying to think if there's another state that I'm just blanking out right now. That's why there's so much going on that this is my job every day, and I still can't remember everything that's going on. So anyway, let me jump back over here. Once again, this screen I'm on right now, it's one of the more complicated aspects of sales tax. You probably won't have to remember it very much, but let's just do a quick example. Say you live in Texas. If you live in Irving, you only have to charge all of your sellers your 8.25% Irving sales tax rate. Or, excuse me, all of your buyers, my bad. So, hey, that's easy peasy, right? But if you live in New York, which is a destination state, you might have a 8% sales tax rate at your place of business. That doesn't matter though. If you make a sale to someone in Buffalo, then you're supposed to charge that Buffalo sales tax rate of 8.75%. All right, so let's do a small deep dive into selling on Amazon and sales tax. First of all, good news, all that stuff we just talked about, Amazon will take care of that for you. Now, you do have to tell Amazon, hey, I want to collect sales tax in New York, or I want to collect sales tax in Texas, or whatever. But they'll do it for you once you've set that up. You should also make sure that you focus on product tax codes. Remember when I said clothing is not taxable in some states? Well, you need to tell Amazon, hey, these 5 SKUs are all clothing. And Amazon will know, okay, I should collect sales tax here, but I should not collect sales tax from a buyer in this state. And then also Amazon charges you for this. So Amazon will charge you 2.9% of the tax collected. So for example, you collect $10 in sales tax on an order, Amazon will charge you 29 cents. And we know Amazon just charges fees on everything. That's life right there with Amazon. And then, okay, so product tax codes, like I was telling you about, same thing with groceries. If you sell a lot of groceries, if you sell a lot of medicine or supplements, a lot of times you just want to make sure that you have the product tax code on there when you're setting up your Amazon tax. And that way Amazon will collect or not collect sales tax whenever you need to. All right, so here's the bad news though. You do have to enable collection. Amazon also will not tell you how to collect in FBA states or where to collect. Amazon just put us, we're in their new app store. We're also like Amazon Global, we're their go-to tax solution for the United States because we just have a really good relationship with them. But they do not want to answer these questions. You will see them say, no, don't come to us. Amazon Global sends them straight to us. Amazon US, I don't know what they're up to, but yeah, so we're their sales tax partner. It's also easy to collect wrong. It's easy to, when you're ready to go, you're getting set up, you're excited about your business, and you're like, okay, let me just check some boxes in here. Like, I forget this, whatever. Very easy to just check some boxes and then create yourself kind of a big sales tax hassle.
Wait, but you guys do only tax compliance in the US, right?
Yes. So we do.
So why does Amazon Global refer to you but not Amazon US?
I know, it's weird, isn't it? Amazon US, I guess they're too big. I mean, we're in their app store, so that's our reference. We're the only sales tax solution in their brand new app store. But yeah, they
have an app store?
Yeah, it's brand new. It's only rolling. They're only rolling out like 100,000 at a time, I think. So yeah, go sign in, see if you can find it. All of you guys.
Oh, dang, that's cool.
Yeah, go sign in and see if it's there for you. It's a slow rollout. They did a press release about it, I think this week or last week. But yeah, so that's exciting. But now say you don't know what the heck you're doing, setting up your Amazon sales tax settings. Well, we wrote an ebook. I wrote this book. It's FBAsalestax.com. Just go over there, download the ebook, and that will help you get started with your sales tax. All right, you're good. You've been collecting sales tax. You're feeling confident. The filing deadline is going to come up, right? The state is going to want you to turn that sales tax in. First of all, the deadline is going to vary for you. Like I said, 46 different states, they might each give you a different frequency. Most of the time, you're going to file and pay sales tax monthly, quarterly, or annually. But there might be some other weird annual stuff twice a year or on the fiscal year. And this is generally, depends on how much money you make in a state. So this guy over here on the left, maybe he's a seasonal guy. Well, they're probably going to want to hear from him about once a year because he's not giving them much money at a time. This lady over here, she's more middling. Maybe she's that $100,000 a year kind of person I mentioned earlier. So she would probably file quarterly. So she's required to give sales tax to the state quarterly. And this guy over here, this big baller, he would be required to file monthly because he makes a lot of money. And remember, states, they use sales tax to pay for roads and schools and hospitals and ambulances and all that stuff. So if this guy is holding on to $100,000 in sales tax, they want that money, over in their pockets. So they're going to make him file monthly. So that's kind of how that works out.
I can tell that that's Joe on the left because he's got such good jaw structure.
That was Joe.
That's my handsome Joe. I recognize him a mile away.
Maybe that's me in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and say it is. She's doing pretty good. She's doing all right. Okay, so deadlines too. Same thing. The deadline is generally the 20th of the month following the taxable period. However, it could also be the 15th or the 30th or the 25th. Like, just whenever you register for a sales tax permit, your state will tell you when to pay. Just pay attention and make sure you file and pay. So this is sort of a typical filing scenario for online sellers. You might file monthly in one state on the 20th, quarterly in another state on the last business day of the month, and then annually in a third state on the 25th of the month. As you can see, it's not easy to keep track of this. It's very easy to juxtapose two dates and accidentally pay one early and pay one late kind of thing. Sales tax they don't make it easy. Also, you want to pay on time because some states will actually let you keep like a little 1 or 2% of the sales tax you collected. It's free money, and they just consider it, they call it like a merchant bonus or something like that. And they're like, hey, you're a good guy. You've been collecting sales tax. Here, take a percentage of this. So, hey, a little bit of free money. But on the other hand, you will pay more if you're late. You definitely don't want to pay late because you will get a penalty, which is just a late filing fee. It's generally about $50. But you'll also have interest on past due amounts. And that interest can be anywhere from like a 2%, which seems reasonable to me, to like 20%, which is crazy. So you definitely—
Okay.
Yeah.
I just have to voice the opinion of people who are watching right now that literally just said, oh, fuck, and like spit their coffee out on their desk. Because I know, because I'm in this deep inside this community, many sub-communities in this community of sellers, because I've been selling for 3 years, which is actually a veteran in this space, that many, if not most, sellers are actually non-compliant. And so if their late payments can go up to 20% interest rates, what do you say to a seller who hasn't been paying sales tax for like years? Are they totally fucked? Should they just start now and hope nobody notices? Should they back pay? Like, what does that person do?
All of those are correct. I'm going to give you that in just a minute. Don't worry. I got you. You're all good.
Okay, cool.
But also, just one more thing, file 0 returns. So say you are seasonal, you only sell around Christmas. Maybe you have sales tax due 4 times a year. Well, definitely always file a return, even if you have sales tax due, because you'll still get a penalty. So like you didn't do maybe you were on vacation. Just file your sales tax, otherwise you'll get that $50 fine, which really sucks. All right, so steps to filing. First of all, and don't worry, I'm gonna get to your question soon, Chris, don't worry. It's all about the data, first of all. So to file, you need to gather all your tax data across all channels. So if you're multi-channel, you don't file an Amazon tax return and a Shopify return and an eBay return. You have to gather it all up together. And then each state has a different format they want you to compile it into, and then you need to file. Common pitfalls can be forgetting to collect sales tax on the channel. Maybe you got excited, you started selling on Shopify, you forgot to set up sales tax collection. You might not be collecting accurately. eBay, for example, they only let you charge 1 sales tax rate per state. And just what we talked about earlier, in some states, you have to charge like every sales tax rate there is. So that doesn't help. And then also just not enough time to keep up. You've seen those crazy deadlines. This is a lot. Also, filing in those destination states is a huge pain because of what we talked about. You have to say, hey, I collected $5 from the ambulance district, and I collected $10 from the city, and I collected $11 from this county. That can get very confusing. And also, once again, if you're multi-channel, you're trying to kind of smush all that into a spreadsheet or something like that. For example, here's California. This is just the California schedule of counties. So look at this guy here. He had to put $1 in Alameda, $2 in Contra Costa, $3 in Riverside. Just think about that. If you're looking over every one of your sales and trying to figure out what to put in each county in California. And people don't put their county on their address. You can't look and say, oh, well, this person's in so-and-so county. All right. So Chris, this is you. I know.
Scared.
Yeah.
Weird. My stomach hurts and many other things.
Don't worry, I got you. What do you do now? First of all, probably the worst option is head in the sand. At least be educated. Say you get educated and you're like, you know what? I don't think a single are going to catch me and I'm never going to pay sales tax. Ha, ha, ha. Well, at least you were educated. At least you kind of knew what you were getting into in that case. So you're doing that right now. But next, your best effort is better than no effort. So best effort would be, okay, let me try to figure this out. I feel like I owe sales tax from 3 years ago, but let me try to figure it out now. Always better than no effort. And then finally, don't drain your resources trying to comply. A lot of times this is more for newer people, but say you just started selling on Amazon, you sell books, Amazon has all of a sudden stuck your books in 20 states. Don't go out there when you're not even making a profit yet and start collecting sales tax in all these states. Don't do that. So don't drain your resources. All right, so how do you get started? And this is where we'll get to the situation that you were talking about. First of all, you want to comply in your home state. You always want to do that. And mainly that's just to cover your butt, because your state can find you very easily. You're there, you live there. And they can send auditors to your house. We hear about auditors coming to people's houses pretty frequently, which is kind of crazy.
They're not going to catch me. I'm all the way over here in Shanghai. I'd like to see an auditor knock on the door of my apartment in Shanghai.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to find you in Shanghai. I really don't. Now, they do find people.
So I'm good.
They do find people in other states. And like the worst case scenario for you, Chris, would be like they would put a lien on your inventory. So, but let's not talk about like the worst cases, because it's not going to happen to you. So, all right. So comply in your home state. You register for a sales tax license. That's with your state's Department of Revenue. You turn on sales tax collection in Amazon, eBay, Shopify, all those other places where you collect. And you file and pay when the due date rolls around. TaxStar, we help you with all that. We got you back. You're back. Okay, so branch out to new states. This is where we're getting to that question. If say you have been selling, you've been making $1 million a year for the last 3 years, you have not collected any sales tax. Well, you do have some options. You can do what's called a voluntary disclosure. What this is you go to a sales tax expert. They're called a SALT, S-A-L-T. They're not a CPA. It's a different kind of professional. And you tell them, look, this is how much sales tax I should have paid to the state. I didn't know about it, or I wasn't doing it. I didn't get how important this was. And they'll call the state on your behalf anonymously. And they'll say, hey, I know a guy and he owes you guys this much money. Can we negotiate this down and negotiate down the fines and the interest and penalties? And so a lot of times you might still owe like the sales tax, but you can get rid of some of the fines and penalties, or they can get rid of all of it. It just really depends on how nice the state is and how good your expert is at negotiating that. So that is definitely one recommendation. Another recommendation, and this is something I've heard from sales tax experts who will not let me use their name when telling this, is that just register now and start collecting sales tax going forward. A lot of times what the state's real goal is to get you in their compliance now. Now, for whatever reason, if you get audited later and they're like, hey, we do want to go back 5 years, well, then, you can be in trouble. However, if you are already in the state's, their system and you're already collecting, a lot of times that's not going to happen. But once again, if this was the best thing to do, then sales tax experts would all be telling people to do it. So that's more of a little bit iffy. And then your third option, of course, is do nothing and just continue not to collect and hope, that sales tax goes away. That's just probably not going to be your best option, because as the Supreme Court case shows, the arc of the universe is really bending toward more sales tax and not less sales tax. So that's, those are your options. But hey, you're the business owner, and you started this business to do what you want to do. So
can't escape Uncle Sam.
I know.
I guess it's not even Uncle Sam, right? That's the federal government. So is there like some kind of weird, creepy uncle or aunt or grandma that we use to refer to the states?
I don't know. Maybe you could just call each state like, Mr. California or Mr. Florida or something like that.
Mr. Florida, the pothead little brother, Oregon. I'm sure I can think of one for every single. Florida's definitely grandpa. Florida's grandpa, 100%.
Sure, he's gonna come after you with a golf club.
Yeah.
But anyway,
we can think of one.
Yeah, there we go. We can do
all of New England is that like preppy cousin with like their polo shirt.
Cousin Chad.
Cousin Chad. Yeah, that's all of New England is Cousin Chad.
Oh, you're bad. My CEO is from New England. I hope he doesn't hear this.
Yeah, well, I'm from Jersey, so I'm sure that there's Jersey would be the worst. You'd be the trashy smoker, like weird, quiet guy who freaks out.
Oh no!
And spazzes out all the time. Yeah, that'd be Jersey.
For sure. Oh my Lord. All right. So next step, you want to collect on all the channels where you have NEXUS, on all your sales channels. So you got that. All right. So when to register? Now this is, say you haven't registered yet in a state. Say you look and you notice, hey, Amazon just moved my inventory to Ohio. I've never had inventory in Ohio before, so I just have NEXUS here. What should I do? Should I collect in Ohio? It just depends on how much. Here, let's go over here. It depends on how much money that you make in a state. So say in Ohio, you make one sale a year to Ohio. Well, say the state finds you and they audit you. Well, what are they going to collect? 5 cents of sales tax that you should have collected. It may not even be worth your time to collect in Ohio. On the other hand, say that you make $100,000 a year in Ohio itself, and you should have collected, I don't know, $8,000 in sales tax. Well, Ohio would probably consider you coming after at that case. Now, on the other hand, maybe you're Coca-Cola and $8,000 is just a rounding error to you. Well, then you might not even bother to collect sales tax then. So you need to look and see, would a sales tax bill from this state break my business? Would this really hurt me? And if it would, I would register and protect your business, because if you're registered, you're collecting the sales tax, you're giving it to the state. This is sort of not hanging over your head anymore. This, oh my gosh, are they going to fine me? And remember, there's also the penalties and interest as you go along too. Now, on the other hand, like I said, if you would only owe a few bucks, it might not even be worth your time. Remember, your time is valuable. If you're spending, 20 minutes to, register for sales tax permit, you're spending a few hours every quarter to pay a sales tax payment, then you may not want to, spend that time. So that's, once again, it's up to you. The decision's up to you. You're the business owner.
I have to, on that point, I have to tell a quick personal story, which is why I was personally spurred to pay more attention to this. And that's because not sales tax in the US, but that in Europe. So I kind of took the route, like full transparency here. When we first started selling, we were not compliant. And then once we got traction, we validated the market, then we're like, okay, we're serious about this. Like, let's get compliant, registered for that value-added tax, which is their version of sales tax, and started paying. But then years later, and this just happened last month, we got audited or like flagged by the HMRC, which is like the tax compliance governance organization over there, and they actually notified Amazon, and then Amazon suspended our UK account, and it really sucks. And we've been going, and the weird thing is that we have been paying for like years. So I don't know what made us get flagged or whatever, but Amazon, like, that just kind of woke me up that like, okay, this can happen. The tax authorities can go to Amazon and force them to suspend or shut down your account. Yes. Which I was like, fuck, like I can't let that happen anywhere else. And this is a place where we are compliant. That's the weird thing. Mm-hmm. Like, have you heard of this happening before out of your like 12,000 customers? Like, does some of the compliant ones like get in trouble? Because it's really like bugging me out.
Yeah, that just happened. It was all over the news when that happened, when Amazon was able to shut down people's accounts. Yeah, the HMRC or whatever it's called, the tax authority in England, they were able to go back and look at people's VAT and just say, look, you know, and they're trying to say that Amazon is responsible. So that's why Amazon is shutting down accounts. Amazon's like, okay, I'm responsible. Let me just get rid of this, you know, seller's account who is not compliant. So that's why now Amazon, though, I believe, and don't quote me on this, I was supposed to talk with somebody from the UK today. So that'll be a little bit later. But yeah, apparently I think Amazon is going to start being responsible for this in the future. Now, once again, don't quote me on that, but you can check. I'm going to write a blog post about it. And once I'm able to talk to we have a counterpart in the UK that does VAT. Once I'm able to talk to them about this. So yeah, that's a really timely question. I don't know that any of our customers have gotten shut down like that, though, that I know of, but I may be, you know, it may be coming, unfortunately. So yeah, simply VAT, simplyvat.com. I would contact those guys about that situation. We really recommend those for European VAT stuff. And that's for everybody, not just you, Chris. All right, so I mean, what do I do now? I think that's a pretty timely answer. Well, TaxStar can help. So here's what we do. We will report how much sales tax you collected. If you want to file your sales tax yourself, we will take all that. Remember, so-and-so lives in the ambulance district, so-and-so lives in the metro district, so-and-so lives in the county, the city. We take all that and just slice and dice it for you. And if you don't want to collect sales tax, or I'm sorry, to file your sales tax returns, we'll auto-file for you. So we'll just automatically file the tax. Have to look again. Most of our customers want that. So we connect with all these different e-commerce providers, as you can see here, the major ones. We will summarize your sales tax by state. So you would log in, you would see a dashboard filled with all of your information. Then we'll summarize it by jurisdiction. So this is literally, you go in here, then you go to your state and you say, hey, put $1 here, put $2 here. We'll also even tell you where you might have NEXUS. So say you have not been paying attention to where Amazon puts your items. Well, this will show you with a little brown Amazon badge, hey, we see stuff in California and Florida and Arizona. So maybe go check and make sure that you don't have a big old sales tax bill there. And then we also have a feature that lets you see if you're collecting the right amount of sales tax. If you see any orange on your dashboard, you can go up there and check and it'll say, oh, hey, you know, something seems off. You didn't collect any sales tax. You better go check. Maybe Amazon is screwing up. Maybe Shopify is screwing up. Maybe you forgot to enter something. So it's a handy little feature. And then, of course, we'll auto-file your sales tax return in every state. A lot of our customers, I mean, that's what they're here for, is auto-file. They do not want to see a report. They don't care. They don't want to touch it. They just want to auto-file in every state. And then also we have more than 10,000 happy customers. It's 12,000 now, but we're not going to update it until we get to 15,000. And that includes Coca-Cola is our biggest one, kind of the most well-known in the world, but other companies like this, a lot of tech companies. And we have some helpful resources. So we have a YouTube channel. I think we have 200 videos now or something like that. It's getting to a crazy amount. We have an online community, salestaxcommunity.com. And that's pretty cool because other store owners and tax pros hang out over there. So if you have a weird little question that you might not want to call your state for, you definitely don't want to pay a sales tax pro for, you can go over there and ask it. And then blog.taxstar.com, all the information I told you here and much, much more. And you can get started for free. There's a little information about how much we cost. We start at $19 a month for up to 1,000 transactions, and we grow with your business. And then auto-file is $16 to $25 per return. And you can always do a 30-day free trial. You don't have to put your credit card in. We just want you to check out TaxStar. All right. And then if you have a question for me, email me here. And other than that, Chris, I know you had some questions. I wanted to get through that bit quick. So yeah, if you have questions or anyone in the audience.
Yeah. A couple people have been posting a couple questions during the presentation. So Mia asks, what can I deduct
Oh, okay. So that's more of an income tax question. Now, it's a great question, but for deductions, it's more of an income tax question. So, for example, remember how I said like shipping is taxable? So you should charge sales tax on shipping. Well, on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
you pay for shipping for your customer, you can deduct that on your income tax. But yeah, those are two different things. There's really not going to be any deductions on your sales tax, unfortunately. You take it from the customer and then you pay it back to the state. You're just like the middleman.
Word. Okay. Victor Mendoza wants to know, he says, I've set up on 28 states. Some states are monthly and some are quarterly. Do you charge the same per filing on both situations?
Yeah, great question. And yes, we do. We charge the same per filing because it's just $16 to $25 per filing. And that amount depends on if you've bought like auto file credits and if you're an annual TaxStar customer. So it's also cheaper to be an annual TaxStar customer. So we do encourage that. But yeah, it's $16 to $25 per filing, but it doesn't matter how often.
Awesome. Okay, we got another one. You mentioned comply in the home state, but what if you've got no home state because you're operating from outside the US?
Great question. No, you don't have a home state then. You don't have to worry about it. Now, you might still have NEXUS in the state. So you have an employee or a contractor or a salesperson or inventory in a warehouse. But yeah, then you have no home state. You don't have to worry about it.
But then, yeah, whatever state you're incorporated in, though, I guess that's your home state.
Interestingly, in a lot of cases, if you're incorporated in a state, but you don't have an employee or a location, then you still don't have NEXUS in that state. The way states think about it is like you're using resources. So if you don't have any kind of
cool.
Like you don't have an office, you're not like driving on the roads or using the school system or using an ambulance if you have a heart attack kind of thing, then you don't have NEXUS. Now that can depend on the state, so you always kind of want to check. But I just had to call somebody about Wyoming the other day. Apparently a lot of people are incorporating in Wyoming right now. And Wyoming said, yeah, if you just have like a post office box that you don't ever come to here in Wyoming and that's your incorporation, then you don't have sales tax NEXUS here. So, hey, at least a little good news there.
Yeah, that's actually awesome. I didn't even realize that. I think, I mean, this is just a global issue that like no government understands how to deal with our new location independence as a society, especially like the millennial generation and on. Because I mean, there are a ton, including yourself, of folks who work, but they work 100% remotely and they just float around. And maybe like some, like myself, don't even have a home. I just live wherever I happen to be. Like there's no address. Like I don't really have a permanent address. And like there's so many things that fucks with, because that's just not how the world worked all the way up until like right here in like, civilized history. It's like the past like couple minutes on like a cosmic scale have been, this location independent thing, and just the laws just haven't caught up. That's what I'm finding.
Yeah, oh, it's so true. And yeah, the internet, it's changed everything. I remember even 8 years ago when I got started writing about this, I would write about location independent people, and they would have problems because like with taxes, they wouldn't have a permanent address. So the IRS is like, well, where do you live? But they were like, we want money from you, but we don't know where to like serve you papers and stuff like that. So, I mean, I guess that could kind of be good. You can just hide.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very complicated, especially if you have a business. Like if you don't have a business, it'll maybe a little bit easier to be location independent. But having a business, the bureaucracies, they're always going to want their money. You can think of it that way. They're going to want to try to track you down and get that money. For better.
Yeah. And that's it. There's a whole underground community around this. Like I met this dude who was mining Bitcoin when it was at like 40 or 50 cents a coin. And of course now it's like, I don't even know exactly where it is now. It's somewhere on the order of $10,000 a coin. So he's like a decamillionaire. He's like somewhere between 10 and 100 million is his net worth. And he completely relinquished his US citizenship. He was just like, nope, I'm not a US citizen.
Not paying the tax.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because all of his value, his net worth was tied up in digital currency, that it was never it was never reported. So he didn't have to pay that death tax or the gift tax that you normally have to when you, well, he should have, but he didn't when you relinquish your citizenship. So he just literally just gave his passport up and was like, okay, fuck you guys, I'm never coming back. And he got a passport in some island. But that's a whole community.
Oh, sure.
Not to like diverge this conversation, but it's tax related, I guess.
It is. No, it's definitely tax related. That's the thing. Yeah, and that's kind of another reason sales tax kind of gets you, because it's not where you are, it's like where your inventory is or where your employee is. So they get you in a more, and I don't know, it's a little more insidious, I guess would be the word.
Yeah. Yeah. It is weird. It's like, it's not cut and dry. It's kind of like, it's weird. There's like room for interpretation. That's why kudos to you guys for being able to build tech around this ugly ass beast and make it a little bit shiny, Yeah. But speaking of, we got a hot one here. Victor Mendoza's got another question saying, we're currently working with another company. Can you transfer the data to TaxJar and get it set up, or do we have to do that ourselves?
Okay, so it depends. Like you could just easily connect TaxJar with all your shopping carts and marketplaces, like in PayPal, your Amazon, whatever. But also, if you have other data, like, I don't know, you use a point of sale, even though we do integrate with Square and stuff like that. If you do, we can always do a CSV upload, and we can help you with that as well. Like, our support team is happy to help you. Yeah, it should be easy to do. You can just, what I would do, Victor, is sign up for a 30-day free trial at taxjar.com. And then see what you can do yourself, or just send a quick email to support. Say, hey, I talked to Jennifer on this webinar today, and I need help doing this, and they'll help you out.
Solid. We got one last question, and I think then we can wrap this up and tell the folks where to get their giveaway for this webinar, and allow you to continue on with your day and me to get a little bit of sleep.
Yes.
So Amia is asking, do I have to register for a sales tax license in every single state in advance?
Great question. It's hard for Amazon sellers, because Amazon, hey, in 2 weeks, we're going to move your inventory to Virginia. They just move it to Virginia. So you are supposed to register in advance, but a lot of times you can't. So just register, as soon as you can. Is the best advice we can give you. If the state wants to get real picky about it, they can say, hey, you didn't collect sales tax for this 1 week when you had NEXUS here. Most states are just not that mean, thank goodness. They can be mean about other stuff, but that kind of thing, normally they're not that mean. And if you miss 1 week of collecting sales tax, a lot of times that's not going to break the bank either. You might have to pay that out of pocket, but that should be okay. So yeah. Now, on the other hand, like, say if you're starting a business in your home state, you definitely want to register for a sales tax permit before you start making sales in your home state. Like, if you can reasonably know that you're about to start making sales, then yeah, you should, it's kind of the good citizen thing to do and register beforehand.
Sweet. Okay, we got some good questions here. That's awesome. Very engaged folks. We got a couple thank yous. People seem to really be thankful for the content that you dished out here, Jen. So thank you.
Well, I thank you for having me. And thank you guys.
We're right on time too. Finished right on time.
Perfect.
That's amazing. So if anybody who's watching wants to get the handout where we do a summary of everything that we went over during this webinar, you can just email sup@judolaunch.com, sup@judolaunch.com, and we'll send that right over to you. You'll also be emailed automatically by signing up to this webinar. You'll be emailed the replay so that you can rewind and go back to the parts that you missed. And then, of course, if you are not yet at the point where you have to worry about sales tax, but you want to be there and you want to be selling huge volumes, and you want to launch and take the shortcut route to boosting your sales, go to judolaunch.com or email me, Chris@judolaunch.com, and we will get you hooked up with a launch so that we can get you up and running and selling, and you can run into the good problem to have of needing to pay sales tax, because that means that you are actually selling. So go ahead and do that. So on that note, why don't we wrap this up? Thank you, Jen, for being our guest.
Thanks again,
Chris. I really enjoyed this.
All right. Well, you guys take care.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye now.